Trekland, HQ anyway. And we are live. Hey, 2022, when Star Trek fans got it. Today, number 288 episode of Trekland Tuesdays Live. Gave it away. With me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek, coming right at you from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 for some sanity, clarity in the big picture of everything Star Trek every Tuesday. Well, except next Tuesday. We're going to take a week off for the holidays, but so glad everybody is with us today. Hope everybody is doing well. Whatever you're celebrating right now, hope you're having a joyous holiday time. And if you're not, hoping you're having the best late December ever. Here we are. It dawned on me that taking a week off next week, yes, makes this the last Trekland Tuesdays Live of 2022. And, while I try not to date these so much, they're going to be dated. I mean, my God, go back and look at 2017 in all ways. But it's a time you can't help but look back. And we look to January, we'll be all full of the year ahead and maybe some recapping too. But it really struck me, we can sit here, some of us can sit here and preach. Oh, and by the way, I'm preaching at you once again that if you are new to us on Trekland Tuesdays Live, jump in the community here on our chat, introduce yourself, say where you're from. I'd love to know how you found us. And if you're one of our veterans, well, you know the drill. I'm going to talk about a topic here, a little soapbox today. And then we'll take a short break, very quick break. You won't even know it. And then we will get to some Parrot Analytics ratings today. And then I will dive headlong into this chat. So go ahead, post a question now if you like, or save it. Get your hellos and howdy doos and weather reports and whatever you want to do now. But I will back scroll and I'll get to everything, especially actual questions and folks of note to say hi to, especially anybody who's new with us today, okay? And just reminding you that if you are on Twitch and YouTube, you're seeing everything in the chat. If you're on Facebook, you're only seeing the Facebook comments, okay? And geez, if you're watching us later on YouTube, it'd be great someday if you could be with us live. Like right now being the end of 2022, still almost Christmas. And by the way, gang, if you are looking for some last minute Trek gifts, I've got a consolidated page. See that double team deep dive? Yep. If you go to LarryNemechek.com right now, my homepage, there's one big link that will take you to, TeePublic's big sale ended, but it's still there. Cameo, I'll do a Dr. McCoy for you. Whatever you want me to read for whoever on your gift list, even if it's for you, I'll do it. I'll do a Will Rogers. I'll just do me. If you want me to say hello, greetings to anybody, and birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, it's for good all year long. This is a big time of year, though. Cameo's new. But also, we have this double deal package of a seat on the cruise special Trek before or after the big cruise. You don't have to be on the cruise. That's up there. But also, I got it out of mothballs. A 12 months for the price of 10 in Portal and a 6 months for the price of 5. It's all there. It's some options, big to little, and Cameo, if you want to go small. Maybe it helps you out with your gift list, whatever scale your budget is. Maybe it's for you too, because you deserve it. We're all here. We've survived 2022. Things are, I don't know, what do you think? Things are a little better. What I'm getting at today when Star Trek fans got it is, I think people got, even the best hearted of fans are starting to get what our brave new world of Star Trek looks like. And that doesn't just mean either you love Discovery or you don't. We're way beyond that. We're also way beyond by God, Star Trek was meant to be free. And I'm not subscribing to any stream channel. Now, personal situations aside, tech-wise, budget-wise, I think the world has caught up to Star Trek. And we see what streaming's like. And people are making budget decisions. People are making choices. I feel like we're going full circle back around to the height of cable madness. I hope it doesn't go that far, but it feels like it already is. So we have come so far since 2017 since I started this little weekly chat visit. And the culture war, the culture landscape, the streaming landscape, media, and most of all, Trek has come back. And again, we're not in this, week to week comparison circus. We're not into the crisis of the week. We're not even into this series versus that series. We have transcended the 90s, where everything was TNG versus DS9 or TNG versus TOS to begin with. And then DS9 versus Voyager. And now we're left with only Enterprise, so it feels like a weakling to start with. What? No. The movie. We've got all kinds. We've got a whole new landscape because the world has changed. The cultures, the way we absorb media has changed. And those are topics we talk about here every week, but sometimes, we can lose the forest for the trees. So I was thinking, gosh, look at what's happened. Has it finally turned? When I started this weekly chat, this visit, within a year, we were so worried about the toxic tubers taking advantage of how new people were, not only to streaming and online social media, but the whole killer math, the killer analytics, the killer magnets of math, I think, that attracted us to the algorithms that kind of force you down a rabbit hole. We're waking up to it, thankfully, before we lost our culture, lost our politics. And people are much savvier now about the ways to go. And what we're watching with in real time now with Twitter and people struggle, Mastodon. I'm trying a new one called Post, also that's in beta. People are struggling with how to move forward without being taken advantage of, without being bought and sold. People are starting to get what the information age is really about, or it's the demographics age, and that's the commodity. It's not a thing. It's your data is what's most valuable in the world to be bought and sold. And the way that trickles down to Trek. And I swear we started Trek fandom with this adversarial relationship with the makers. You go back to the 70s and it was like, NBC canceled Star Trek, and Paramount doesn't know what it's doing, and whatever. Then you're into Paramount. Paramount killed off Spock, and Paramount screwed up the motion picture, and we're off and running. But the times when there's been the most Trek and it's been in sync, and mentioned this before, there's actually been a time when the capitalism and the fan desire have actually been in sync. If you make more and you make it good, then we will buy more. We'll be happy and you'll be happy. And the times when that's been in sync has been the greatest time. The height of the Berman era was that way. Sometimes, it's not like it's not like the stockholders don't want as much profit as they could get as long as we're in this system. Before we've transcended post-scarcity and we've joined Captain Picard in his noble speeches, that we're only bettering ourselves for ourselves and the rest of humanity. We're not dabbling in material possessions and goods. That's not our driving focus. A lot of times, it's just pure unawares. And that's where I think we've been the last 5 years, 5, 6, 7 years. People are still just human. And it's not always about the greed factor. It's not always about ego. Sometimes it's just unawareness. And if we look at what's happened to the Star Trek franchise, can we say that now? Are we still saying the Kurtzman era? Are we still saying modern Trek? I hate saying new Trek because that takes me right back to 1987 when they were calling it new Trek to make fun of Next Generation. And after the New Coke debacle. So, okay, fine. But it's been a year where I think we finally transcended that. I've been talking about the buffet of Trek possibilities since maybe the announcement of Picard, and that eventually the need for different flavors in the buffet was going to give you maybe what you wanted without you even realizing it, just for the driving need of got to be exactly the same, but a little different. But that's hard to fathom when you're pioneering something. That's hard to get across. I really, looking back, and then of course we had a pandemic thrown in there in the middle of it that affected the viewers, it affected the producers, it affected the world at large and our attitudes and our outlook on the world. And I think 2022 has been Finally, for the first time, we finally reached a plateau where the producers and audience can take a breather. We can put our plans into motion. We can take stock of what's going on and look what's happened. I think 2022 was the year when fandom realized just how in love, how Lower Decks had sneaked up on it despite everyone's best intentions to be wary of animated and comedy and Star Trek and show just what was possible. I think 2022 was the year when people realized they were in love with Strange New Worlds and oh my God, they can do live action right. If you weren't happy with Discovery and or Picard or Discard, as we could combine them, no, they should not be combined. They are totally different animals. 2022 has been the year where I think people have learned not to give up on something if they didn't enjoy it as much at first. Discovery has come so far, and I dare say this fifth season, from everything I hear, is actually going to be a slightly different color. I hope it's the best vehicle. I hope it's the best beaker to let the characters be the characters, but also the storytelling frame be as Trekish as it can be, because they sure made huge inroads. The things that people had been dissatisfied with about Discovery went a long way down that path last year with that incredible first contact. No, Mother Horta. It's not a weapon. It's not a danger, a threat. It's somebody that really should be our friend. I mean, it was just the Horta done a million times bigger and longer, felt like. And Picard. Picard, people seeing excited for the reunion and more of a third season and realizing that the inherent show is not just about actors, but it's about who's in charge, who's making it, whose vision is happening. And again, what's the political pendulum doing at the moment? Someone of good conscience, someone of good means could want to do something, and sometimes they just have to wait their chance. And sometimes it's just the mix of people involved. Sometimes it's just your awareness. Because look, it's not as easy figuring out what Picard will be and watching it evolve. It evolved over 3 seasons. It's not like taking a poll of fandom is going to give you any answers. Ha! Let's give up on that. However, a lot of fandom can sit back and say, well, this is what I like. And I think the excitement for Picard season 3 has been a revelation as part of this big picture of people getting it, what the big picture, what the buffet is going to look like. And yeah, Strange New Worlds, so much expectation. How high was the bar of what people were waiting on for Strange New Worlds? How easy would it have been for that to fall in short? And sure, there were little misfires along the way, but there was just this palpable relief throughout the kingdom of Illyria and otherwise of the potential for Strange New Worlds and the power in not just standalone storytelling, but the balance. And I think that's just something that we've, as human beings, fans and creators, have had to see. If that's been the impetus for this new platform of 10 episodes a season, and you're going to get 5 series, but they're all going to be a chunk in the year, aside from poor Prodigy, which will have to be sub-chunked, hopefully for no more. But just to experience what this is like, and maybe, yes, most of all, I think the world here is doing a slow burn here at the end of the year about, oh my God, Prodigy, coming out of nowhere. Never underestimate a kids show again, because you've got to look and see who's working on it, what's their credentials, what's their intentions. And yeah, it's doing really well to have fanboys and fangirls heavily involved in some of these series. Doesn't have to be the hiring, the hiring bar. But wow, look what these folks are doing these days with some of the shows. So yeah, I think fandom has learned, whether you were even hearing the message at first that myself and some folks have been putting out for a few years, increasingly, or if you were paying attention when you did experience it, or even more so, the people who are starting to come around. And that includes, yeah, little kids, the Cadet Alices of the world, who are being turned on now to Prodigy and will soon grow into lower decks and everything else too, if not already, depending on what their entry point is. But some of these long range plans for the health, for the value of Star Trek, and the enjoyment that we all get out of it. But we know in our hearts why Star Trek is different than everything else. Not better, but different. And if you're what you're looking for in your entertainment, if you're looking to be entertained, or you're looking for that thing to be, a part of your wedding and a part of your funeral, a part of your daily life, that classic, and when I say classic, I mean Star Trek prior to 2017, had become to so many people. The role that Star Trek played in their lives. And sure, Star Wars was out there too, and Doctor Who, and even the comic empires. But I'm familiar with Star Trek, and I know that had strayed. When you don't have fresh Trek, you're constantly revisiting your old friends, but it's nice to freshen the pool. Sometimes the debate becomes on the best way to do that, and sometimes when you've let the well-oiled machine sit idle for so long, it's hard to start that up. But once it gets whirring, it gets there. And I know a lot of people still are not happy, even with Strange New Worlds. But I think the way we eventually assimilated everything, how are we going to do this? All the, in Next Gen days, there was all the aversion to using original series material, even. If you heard Ira at our open house, and where were you? He's talked about this before, but we revisited the classic story of the huge fight to even mention Spock's name in third season in Sarek. And of course, everybody said, well, my gosh, by fifth season, they had him on the show. I know, but a year is an eternity in the life of an infant. We're talking about an infant series, but also an infant franchise before we even dared call it that. So sometimes it just takes a while. There's always the visionaries out there predicting how it's going to be if we would just catch up and go there, whether they have the numbers behind them, whether they have the dollars behind them. Sometimes we have the visionaries out there who wind up being totally wrong through no fault of their own. They just didn't have the whole picture, or maybe part of the formula went flat and skewed their projection. In any case, not to make this too ivory tower today, but I'm really feeling like 2022 was the year that things came together. Now, 2022 was also the year when, and I'm mindful of this because we just had him on as a guest, Ben Robinson from Eaglemoss. 2022 was the year one of the most beloved licensees imploded. I keep having PTSD back to 2005 when the fan club imploded with Decipher. Actually, Decipher imploded and took the fan club and Communicator magazine with it. There's tough times. There are people who are working. I think of some of the game licensees over the years that blew up and things came out of left field, and sometimes not always their fault even. But it's a year when seemingly something is popular and as well loved and beloved and renewed by all the energy from the new series. Oh my God. With so much to look forward to on the horizon, imploded. So unfair. And the fact that Ben is working so hard to bring that back, hopefully, as he has been saying on social media, as he told us on a new Trek Files to come soon, hopefully sooner than later, we'll be announcing how strings of the old Eaglemoss Empire are going to survive and carry on, hopefully. But that's a year when that happened. It's a year when, wow, I was really feeling it. So it's a year when my homeboys and girls back home inducted me into the Oklahoma Speculative Fiction Hall of Fame, which was kind of an amazing honor. Every 2 years, they invite someone to join this. You're Oklahoma born or you're Oklahoma rooted, and you contributed something to the speculative fiction, made it very broad there. It can be writing, literature in all the fields, and the Hollywood side, the TV side, the adjacent side, whatever, which is always an honor when your home folks, that goes two ways. One is you're a stranger in your own land, unrecognized in your own land, and you have to go afield. And then two is when the folks back home, as Will Rogers said, remember you. And that's the greatest tribute of all. So That was a huge part. And 2022, we're all climbing out of the stupid pandemic hole anyway in different speeds, and we're still dealing with it in a little bit. We're not under a 24/7 curfew pandemic. We're going to be dealing with the leftovers for a long time, and we're going to be seeing financial and probably even psychological with the kids, the lost schools. Well, the missed income from our parents, but I'm just thinking of they're going to be studying the kids the last 2 years at different ages where they were in the pandemic. That's going to be a topic for ages. Maybe it will even inspire a future Star Trek story. But I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking, I mean, every year is unique. Every year there's something, but we've been through so much. When you look at the big picture of the world at large and our Star Trek lens, and you marry those two, the rise of Zooming, the rise of virtual communication. Now, again, some of us were Portal 47 in 2015 and 2016, but the rest of the world is on board. I have guests. No guest has to be tutored in how to Zoom now. No matter how old they are or their lack of grandsons and granddaughters, everybody can Zoom now, which is awesome. It's opened up, as much as the idea, it's opened up the guest potential so much. And we're able to do this even without a pandemic. We're able to do this around the world. And I see more and more cases, not just with fandom, but schools and businesses and churches, where the virtual component is going to linger. It won't just go back to live again. Why should it? We have the technology. We can do that. As we find the silver lining in some of the survival techniques of the pandemic. So hopefully it's upset it's upset the worst of our economic system to really open people's eyes to priorities and the way people are treated, and getting to some of these Star Trek themes that we're talking about. But I don't know. It feels like in 5 years, that worry about the toxic tubers, I don't know, has the flood of this, again, I go back to this tired metaphor, the buffet of Star Trek, and everybody happy if they just find at least one thing. I was in a bit of a Twitter discussion the other day, or a thread, where people were talking about positive fandom versus negative fandom. And I said, is it just that there are now so many choices that maybe, as long as you have your favorite, and you only have it for 10 weeks a year, true, but if you have your favorite and it lives all year long, and the actors behind that series and the creators behind that series are out and talking, and social media makes it more than just a once a year visit to Trek Vegas. Is it, does that ease it along? Are we just remembering what it used to be like when we had DS9 and Voyager on the air, and TNG was lingering, and it was fresh in people's minds, and the original series was still there, and people had their favorite, and maybe they didn't pay attention to anything else, but it felt like most people were a Trek fan with a favorite. And I don't know what happened to that. When did it become this life and death choosing over favorites? I think when it's just one or it's two, I think we had 5. We have 5. We have live action. We have animated. We have more on the way, supposedly. We've had creators reach out and come up with some awesome, awesome ideas. We're all waiting on the crossover between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. I mean, what's that going to be? Some of the really imaginative bits that are coming up. How is the Next Generation cast reunion of AKA Picard season 3? What's that going to end? Will there be a spinoff out of that? Who's going to be involved in who will be guest stars along the way? My gosh, look at what Prodigy is doing to bring guest stars, much less depth of storytelling, taking the Kid's Tale and overlapping it with what's happening in the 20. Wait, what? This is going to lead into Picard? What? We're going to get canon facts out of Prodigy? They're going to, yes. I think it's becoming aware. I think we're all becoming aware of what that looked like. And if some of us maybe had an intellectual image, a picture, we could conceive what it would feel like. There's nothing like living it in real time. And so for everybody who didn't get where we were coming, well, now it's a moot point. We're living it. You can make choices creatively about where you want to go, what you prefer to see. Or maybe I've been waiting 40 years for this Romulan War Founding the Federation series. I've been waiting for this, but still, here's my opinion about everything else. And it's okay. You can like this more than that. I don't know. Have all the worries about gatekeeping and all of that kind of thing, has it felt like it's subsiding? Is it a combination of more Trek, being savvier with social media, maybe the pandemic teaching us the value of our community, and as things do open up, really relishing the chances that we have to get back together face to face again? Has it even put a whole new glow on true fandom community, whether it's viral, we're great for that lifeline, or getting back live again? I don't know. And we've got, as a third level, we've got the shakeout at the CBS Paramount remarriage, the remerger, and still the shakeout from that. What's happening with the live action movie? We don't live and die by it, but it's still going to. Do we have to have just one concept? Can there be two? What about the animated side? That's been avidly talked about. Will there be a Prodigy movie? And not that it'll be the end of the series, but just feed back even more viewers, even more eyeballs and families into Prodigy, and then the greater Trek world as a whole. I mean, it really is a brave new world out there. And I just feel like some of the negatives, whether it was the weirdness of what was happening online as a lifeline to how it cleaned up just in time, how the sane folk, what we'll call the great normal majority, took over the online airwaves when we needed to during a pandemic to survive our sanity, much less new creative output, much less new fandom output. I just this whole whirlwind, this whole synergistic pool of thoughts and trends. And I just can't help but think that 2022 is actually feels like we're pulling ourselves out of the muck a little bit. Now, knock for Micah. I don't want to doom anything here, but I don't know. I'm curious. How is everybody? How are you feeling here as we end up good old 2022? I think everybody who was expecting from the depths of the pandemic, remember how we all thought 2021 was just going to be, oh my God, our total flipped back from 2020. 2020 will always go down as one of those years. A lot like 1968, I think. But 2021 said, oh, hold on, not so fast. And even 2022 obviously started off a little mucky, a little murky. But I really feel like by the end of it here, in so many ways, that we're not just getting back to normal, but we're redefining what a new normal is in all kinds of levels, all kinds of layers. And I'm basically, kind of, dare I say it, optimistic place here. How about you? Hey, there's lots of economic issues to deal with still. We've got lots of pandemic lingering bits. We've got some numbers up. Flu is more prevalent this year because it was so stifled when we all masked that now, without being masked 24/7, flu is having an easier time of it. It's some of these other childhood diseases. We have to just be smart and vigilant. But I really feel like 2022 was kind of a eye-opening better year, and I think we were all due for that. And I think on our screens, we see the way of the future. We see the way of the present. And people are actually excited and looking forward to Picard season 3. We're looking forward to Lower Decks. We get Prodigy now. Much less we're looking forward to Strange New Worlds. Oh my God. And why isn't the whole world watching it? And I think people are even going to be a little excited for season 5 Discovery. I think from what I hear, it's not the save the universe big bad plot. And I think you're getting that tone coming through and some of the comments coming through from the showrunners too. So I'm just saying, if we sit here at the end of 2022 and I didn't mean to look back, we still got to survive Christmas or the end of our Hanukkah, whatever we're doing, and get through New Year's. But I think we're not doing too bad. I think we've come a long way. I think if we're not at the mountaintop, we've come back out of the valley and are able to look back at where we've been and say, okay, the air is a little clearer up here. Vision's a little easier to see. And we might just make it after all. With Star Trek to forever inspire us, old and new. And if that's corny, then welcome to fandom, real fandom for the last 55 years. Hey, everybody. I can't wait to see if I started anything up in our chats here. I hope so. Because I just want to take a moment to say, if you're joining me today and you're able to take a breather, I just want to mention again that we do have these last minute gifts. Okay. My homepage, LarryNemecek.com. But I also do want to thank our Patreons today who've been with me through the year. We're looking at expanding a few things next year. It's going to be an exciting 2023. I remember in 2019, I was so proud of myself because I said, oh, here's the great line for next year. And all of our holiday bonuses and the gifts that we had special deals on and everything. I said, you want a clear vision of Trek 2020. Get it? 2020. I was so proud of that. And, I laugh about that now. You never exactly know. So just because it's 2020 and you should have clear vision, you should have the best view of anything. Doesn't always work out. But I am excited for 2023. And I'm so glad that these folks, our Patreons here, are helping us out with it. So thank you. As always, thank you, Diane Hopkins. Diana. What do I say, Diane? That's weird, Diana. Only someone I've known for bleepity bleep number of years. But also, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Lawrence Todd, Keith Rombach, Nathaniel Robinson, Robin Wilson, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Andrew Jasimski, Pranakasha Productions, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Galinda Bruton. And our live wires, Halbeard Gunn Johnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoensi, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, and Casey Shafsky. I want to thank you guys all. We're going to still be making some evolving steps here, and it'll be a lot of fun. Going to be talking about that in January, but if you want to jump in now, Patreon, if you can, $5-10, very simple. It's a shout out, and we're very soon going to have that all over access to past videos up. Patreon.com/Trekland Live for our live wires, that is. Love to do it. They bill that at the end of the month, so it'd be great if you could jump in with us. When you go to my homepage, you'll also see why I'm excited about next year, because we've got these special pre and post cruise out of LA, special LA away days, Trekland Treks of a set schedule on a Thursday and on a Saturday. Love to have you with us, even if you're not on the cruise. It doesn't matter. Get yourself to LA. It's a more budget-minded bit than our Trekland Treks we do custom. You can find it right there on the front page of my homepage, LarryNemecek.com, along with, oh my gosh, we've kind of lost sight of this, but the big tour in July, 10 days, LA, San Francisco, filming sites. Trekland Treks is all about filming sites. It's like a real live away team, a real live landing party. And you can be there. If you do a Trekland Treks with me, you can even customize your itinerary. Everything else is some manner of a big trip. You can read all about it, jump to my page, and you can get off on the links there. And of course, being a Tuesday, that means, as I mentioned, as I leaked a little bit before, our guest this week is the great Ben Robinson, formerly of Eagle Moss, hopefully soon back sundry fingers of Eagle Moss living again, but he jumps up today to join us. I've told you, Ben, I'm going to leave you on the topic. The Trek Files, our documents are at Facebook, the Trek Files. You can get the audio almost anywhere you get fine podcasts are caught. Podcast.roddenberry.com is where you can get all the other great Roddenberry podcasts like Mission Log and Mission Log Live, like Sci-Fi 5, like Fan Addicts. Have you even checked out what's going on over there? Trek and Trek Sci-Fi Beyond. So that's all there. Of course, I'm Larry Nemecek on Twitter and Mastodon and soon Post. If you're not with us already on Larry Nemecek's Trekland here on YouTube, if you're there, like and subscribe that, Instagram, Facebook, And you can check out portal47.net. You can see what's going on. If you want to jump in with this, though, take advantage of one of those deals. There's a 6-month deal, a 12-month deal, just here through the holidays, or the big double deal, the double deal deep dive. It's a seat on one of the cruise trek days and a full year of Portal 47. So you get the big splash one day, but you've got a mini con all year long, as we say. Oh boy, everybody. I can't wait to, well, I'm going to jump in the chat here in a minute. But if you're leaving us right now, please stay healthy. Do all the things. Stay woke. And when I say woke, I mean leave your eyes open to things you hadn't considered or hadn't learned before. And if something new that you are learning seems too good to be true, check the sources, okay? And if you're leaving us now, please trek well. But don't leave if you're here live. Guess what? We've been checking these buggers for 5 years now, since the fall of 2017 and the coming of Discovery. They actually posted, and there's something that's not in sync with our Tuesday line. Parrot Analytics, a company that tries to give you a handle on relative popularity of streaming shows since the old Nielsen ad rate for commercial setting. That's a moot point, and Nielsen and other companies are trying to get into this. You can point to flaws, things you don't like about Parrot Analytics, company out of Australia that's been over here for, 12 years now. But one thing that we've used since the beginning of Discovery to see the relative popularity of the streaming shows, because that's where all Star Trek is now, with a couple of notable exceptions. What is it, Crave in Canada? Actual terrestrial ratings exist for that. But no, Parrot, they measure dozens of countries around the world. We look at the USA top 10 every week and what the USA rankings are for some of the Trek shows when they're in vogue, because that's when everyone's obviously is the most popular, when there's fresh episodes coming out. Star Trek's live actions have done that. They've been in the top 10. Star Trek's animated series, the two of them have never been in the top 10, but we can still track them. But this week, and I have no insight here, I'm looking at the website under the Insights tab at parrotanalytics.com. They did post the week ending December 9th, which means they're still a week behind. And this says it was posted on the 12th, which I'm here to tell you, a week ago was the 13th. And this was not posted on the 12th. So someone's backdate, someone's in a holiday rush. It's gotten a little erratic lately. I don't know. But hey, I'm looking at the top 10 in the digitals only. Stranger Things is on top at 63.3 times more popular than an average show. And then it's Wednesday, Mandalorian, Titans, The Witcher, Andor, The Peripheral, Handmaid's Tale, Ted Lasso, and Warrior Nun. And the top 10 there ends up at 27.1 times more popular than average show, using the factor that they use to scour the internet and base this whole system on average demand expression and ADE. And they rank all the hundreds of TV shows in America, terrestrial and streaming. And they use a benchmark as the average show, and now they use a factor multiplier from that. Okay, yay. Every Star Trek has been in their exceptional, which is the top 0.4% of the shows, or at the least in the outstanding, which is the upper 2.5%, 2.7%. So all the Star Treks have always been wonderful about being up there. We never see them in the top 10 during the animateds. And this week, the overall shows are SpongeBob. Nothing is on fire right now. SpongeBob, then Saturday Night Live, new shows. Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, Sesame Street, and Wednesday are the two digitals in the top 10. Walking Dead, Simpsons, My Hero Academia, and Rick and Morty. Not that there's not animated showing up high leveled, high ranked. We're just talking about our Trek animateds. And, one of these days, something's going to catch fire. One of these days, half of San Diego Comic-Con will be dressed like Gwen. I know Cadet Alice would love that. So what's happened is there are some new ratings posted finally for December 9th. It's a week behind, but it's the first new that I've seen on deadline for our Tuesday get together here in 2 or 3 weeks. And what's interesting is when you look at individual shows, they don't give you the week rating, but they'll show you the 30 and the 60-day trend line. And I got to tell you, Prodigy, little old Prodigy, and the animated shows are even when they're showing new episodes, Prodigy and Lower Decks rank lower than the live action Treks do when they're sitting in hiatus. No fresh episodes. But this week, Prodigy had been sitting since early November at 13.1 on their 30-day trend line. And I think Prodigy is starting to kick in people's consciousness. I don't know, you tell me, but at least as far as how Parent Analytics measures it, they've jumped after being at 13.1 for weeks. They're up to 17.5 on their 30-day average. So, yeah, the demand in the last 30 days has gone up nearly 9%, 8.9. And the trend line had been level, but it's ticked up over the 60-day trend line, where they're taking 60 days of averages and looking at it. And that's through December 12th, which is odd. We didn't have this a week ago. So is it going to be on an upswing here as we reach not just the finale of the season, but I feel like every week more people are coming to Prodigy. I think it's just one of those phenomenon that people are getting it. And when you talk about that the show is turning out to be almost as much about Janeway and Tysus and Noam and Alyssa and her subterfuge. I mean, there's enough of a plot going there, spoilers, that it's not just the kids. And now we've had the interaction. It's really building in a great way, and it's something kids can still, I say kids. Yeah, sure, Alice is 6, but 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And adults. The adults without kids. I'd love to measure that audience for Prodigy. Hey, just as comparison, there is a little bubble going on, right, about the Picard Season 3 TNG cast reunion. Picard is on a 30-day trend. It's up 1%. It's basically been flat, but it hasn't declined. But its plateau, its level state over 30 days is at 18.3, which again, Prodigy's spiking a little bit, but it's still an offline, not fresh show of Trek is doing better than Prodigy. So, it's just inherent. Strange New Worlds is sitting at 18.3 for its 30-day trend. It's just pretty much flat across the board. It's up it's up almost 2% over a 30-day trend. And I know, gang, this is getting in the weeds, and I hope I'm not putting anyone to sleep. Hope we're not doxing you here with inoprovaline. But it's still interesting. They're looking at that. The bottom line here is that there has been a spike for Prodigy. The way, love it or leave it, the way that Parrot is measuring, there has been a spike for Prodigy in the last week, 2 weeks. And I wonder if there's been a cumulative, people trying it out, maybe trying it out for the first time. And as the holidays get here and more families are at home and families can sit down with kids, and maybe this will accumulate. We're only a couple episodes away from the finale. There will be a natural increase in promotion from the studio about the finale. So will that factor into peaking those ratings a little? And then they'll die down, obviously, when the fresh shows are done. We're coming up. Maybe I should have asked that. We're going to come up on like a month or two's hiatus here of no fresh Trek. Maybe that's what we're doing for January. What will you do with the hiatus, Daddy? But it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm glad to see movement of some kind toward Prodigy. It feels right. Just anecdotally, it feels like it's not so much that people are finding Discovery. It's more like they're paying attention, or they're bringing someone else along to watch it. And that's what's causing the buzz, which is basically, whether it's fan or studio or critical, that's what's happening. And when you see interviews with Prodigy creatives, that's adding to the pot as well. So I think that's our. So fresh Parrots a week behind. I don't know. I love the dating of the 12th, because that should have been showing up a week ago and it didn't. So here we go. I'm back scrolling, so all you guys can mark me. And let's see who's in with us today, as we're all trying to keep our heads on and enjoy things, and our Regular TTLers, as always, again, I'm always looking forward to who's new. So if you're new to our community here, or if you're a new TTLer, give a shout out. Lurking is just fine, however. We had lurkers at the open house even. Which again, we're working on that. We're going to get some Ira quips up, and we're going to get the Ira live tape up as soon as we can. But yes, Linda, you are right. Boy, it seemed like it zoomed by this year, but only 2 days till we start getting back to longer days and not dark at 4 in the afternoon, or at least that's what it is around here. Let's see. Hey, yes, hi, Anne Marie. Season's greetings back at you, Scott. Yep. Hey, Brian. Oh, not really. I don't know. It's I'm glad to see you out and about a little more again. Hi, Mark. I know you're not a newbie here. Oh, thank you, Mark. Yes, the Star Trek family is a good group, everybody. You should go check them out on Facebook. Other places, but I know Facebook is the hub. You're appreciated too, Mark. Thank you. All the good. Oh, thank you for being on the ball there, Scott. There's your double 22 offer. Boom. It's kind of a central place for anything. Anything but the cameo, I should say. Hey, Marina. Good to see you, girl. Thank you. It's busy. Thank you, Rose, for stopping by today, too. Yes. Cool. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Oh, yes, I saw this. Melanie. Yeah. A 6.4 rural area, but still 6.4. Jeez, Humboldt County. But a lot of road and structure damage in the light of day. Yeah, I know Humboldt State is up there, or Humboldt Poly. We were just talking about that campus the other day. Hey, Christoph, good to see you from Austria. We have a. If you're new to Tuesdays Live, like all of my Trekland audiences, we try to be as global as we can on timing when we're live. So, yeah, 2 dead and several injured. Yeah, the Christmas earthquake is never. I mean, it's kind of a. You almost hate to say, well, good thing it wasn't in a more populated area, because that seems to disown the folks who are suffering. But just in terms of math, yeah, I'd rather have it out in the middle of the Sahara Desert, but that won't happen. You'd probably still have people displaced even then. What are we saying here? Evenings are getting longer already. Sundown later every day. Yeah. Oh, those mathematicians, what do they know? Those astronomers. Come on. Am I saying Trek folks have finally become woke? No, I'm saying I think Trek folks have mostly always been woke. I think that's Star Trek. I'm just saying that I think the business model for those who are profiting, either financially or emotionally, I think that's been kind of stomped down. I think we've just woke up to the realities around us in our new age, including the damage that algorithms and social media provide. Thank you, Dave, for heading over to the Twitch side of things. Oh, very cool, Melanie. For those of you so interested, Stonehenge comes up in the Trek Files today. You guys, you should you should go take a peek. But thank you for that bit. And the latest on Paramount in Europe, yes. Oh, currently Paramount only screws up conventions and international distribution. In the GSA regions, yes. German-speaking aliens. That's Germany, Switzerland, Austria, I think. They put up and then down Prodigy episodes 17, 18, and 13. You never had 14 to 16. Yeah. Thank you for posting that, Christoph, by the way, in our Portal 47 Observation Lounge Facebook group, which I invite everybody to come. I need to make sure you're a real body, so there's a question, but it's kind of Portal 47 adjacent. So thank you, Christoph, for doing that out where everybody can see. Uh, what's happening here? The earthquake. Uh, Thank you, Jim. Same back at you, and same to everybody else who's wishing the season's greetings all around here. And thank you, Christoph, for the Deutsche lessons, as always. Marina, the apparent unawareness is something else. The range within the creator, maker, owner side is quite staggering. We got extraordinary creative output with Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks and Prodigy. And on the other hand, Starship is Landing. Yeah. Well, see, Starship is Landing and the convention impotence. Yeah, that's what I thought. Starship is Landing. I think that goes under the umbrella of the remerging and expansion. At the same time, the turfs and territories are remerging with CBS and Paramount at the same time. Things are blowing up. It's on the good side, again, it's not our friends John and Marion having to run everything on the licensing booster side. There's a social media team. There's other teams brought in. There are vendors brought in. And I think the infamous year of Starship is Landing was totally chalked up to a new circle of folks. Didn't have a lot of, they only have a surface level impression of both the franchise and the fandom. And I think when we've had hiccups in everything you're listing here, I think it's been hiccups over that. I'm hoping that after a year or two or three, and if enough people stick, and the backdrop to that is we're on the business side now, we're on corporate side, and the hiccup in hiring and the people, the turnover, people leaving jobs, the inability sometimes to hire the right people with job qualifications that are there, and just a lot of people who are qualified going to different fields or staying home, whatever. We've had such a upheaval in something as mundane as employment and corporate, but that's where it impacts our Star Trek world, is what is happening with not the creative side in Hollywood and not even the bean counters, but some of those corporate decisions being made. And I think Starship is Landing is totally chalked up to that. There you go. Okay. And you get your opinion, Willie. Everybody, you're saying it's a low bar. Well, again, let's see what Terry Matalas does with Picard season 3. There you go. Thank you, Scott. Clips from Ira are coming. Hey, it is holidays for all of us, and Scott knows he's working on them. So everybody, but Ira is timeless, so they'll be just as awesome in the next week or two as they were a week or two ago. Besides, that's reward. Next time you'll want to be there live for the next open house guest. And for the people who have sent me an IOU, that could be almost anybody, but it's going to be very awesome. But I should say month. We have great guests every month. So you're just seeing a certain breed for open house, but the folks we have from Backstage Trek every month in Portal are all awesome. I think as the Portales here would tell you, there not a month goes by that there's not one or two gobsmacking, oh my God moments, or oh, really? I had no idea, or just wow moments. Yes, Christoph, I should have mentioned for Clayla and Jay, Science Division is getting there. They were, since things have gotten back and exploded, being a little mom and pop, literally, being a little mom and pop. During the fallow years, there was a big push to have smaller licensees going. A lot of you remember Bye Bye Robot, our friends at Christian Charity. But I think the pendulum swung away from not, I don't know, not being the best for the small companies, which is sad. But no more app-enabled officially licensed triples. But you're right there. Now, our friends my friend Miles and David Gerald, they still have their tribbles.com company, but these app enabled, animated, controllable, programmable tribbles, that's going away. They're selling big time. If you've been following their socials, they've been getting that out there. But you can look that up and see. Hey, Linda, how does one get a Star Trek book published? Carefully, very carefully. Well, it depends on what it is. And if you've got experience, you have a resume, how cool the idea, if the idea is just groundbreaking. If you mean a novel, when someone says Star Trek book to me, I immediately think of Tech Manual or a Next Gen Companion or Stellar Cartography or the autobiography of Fill in the Blanks. I think of background, and I think of in canon, and I think of background books. Oh, the novels. Oh, the novels. Well, there's a stable of novel writers now, but that's constantly turning over. It's always good to have something to show, whether you're writing scripts or you're writing novels or you're writing books. It's good when you're coming into for one thing, you're never going to get rich in a licensed world, just to let you know. On the book side, scripts, if you become a staff writer and you sit there for 8 years, and you'll have residuals for forever. If it's a Star Trek, as opposed to, say, I don't know, a Logan's Run. But that's it. Have something else to show that you're coming to it as a writer of whatever, not as a Trek fan. Unless it's so specialized, you've got something else to show, but then you also want to show your Trek cred. And having something already done, although that's counterintuitive because you want to feel like you're being paid for it. If you've got a spec, if you've got a sample, an outline or a sample that you can show, that's all the better. And on one hand, things are more disrupted where it's not quite so ironclad and hard to get into. But depending on exactly what you mean, Linda, novel fiction versus nonfiction. I remember the days when people would say, well, all Star Trek is fiction. How can you have Star Trek nonfiction? I just wanted to shoot those people. on stun, maybe. The Toxic Tubers have mostly moved on to Star Wars. Fine by me. Well, I know, Brian, but I mean, they were inhabiting Star Wars back then. The whole hate Ryan Johnson, run people off Twitter. That was pretty potent 4 or 5 years ago, too. In a way, it's like living in a small town. It's like I'm almost glad Star Trek is not always on the radar. But then again, that means Star Trek is still struggling for popularity. And not that it's about numbers or competition, but I'm tired of seeing Star Trek treated like a second-class property by the greater world out there, by the unaware bean counters. Hi, Mona. Glad to have you in with us. And there you go. I think you're not alone. It's not a small club. I think the same way that Lower Decks is also a growing sliver of fandom's favorite Trek, but it also includes everything. So you're still in that post TNG era, DS9 Voyager era, plus 5 or 10. So wait, what is up with the McCoy beanie behind me? His eyes. The McCoy beanie. What are you talking about? The McCoy beanie. You mean the plushy McCoy? Plushy McCoy is the same as he's always been. He's got an anime type face. Plushy McCoy is out there all the time. Plushy McCoy's been here since day one. Well, okay, Mark. Whenever you think the gatekeeping is subsiding, it always rears its head again. Its ugly head, I think you could say. How so? Has there been a certain topic or thread or something that's got it going there? Linda, all you see online is love for Trek, but you stay in your little happy bubble. Well, there is that. Oh, I hope I thought out for you, Christoph. Hey, Dave. Loving Prodigy, the storytelling, the baseline of Trek Culture and Mores, all of it. Yeah, being able to do Star Trek 101. Melanie, you're going to run off the box here, but I'll start you. Stranger in a Strange Land, Heinlein. You met him at a con. Ask him what inspires him to write, and he said money. I also mentioned Orphans of the Sky, about people on a multi-generational ship. Their greeting phrase was, good eating. Heinlein said, that one was inspired by my stomach. Nice guy. good humor. Okay. Well, I was reading something about, revisionist reactionary takes, modern takes on Heinlein. But again, the need to, I think we're getting a little smarter. This transcends everything about keeping context. I mean, the biggest example of this is wanting to write Washington and Jefferson and the rest of the founders from the South, practically everybody but Adams, out of foundational American history because they were slave owners. And that's problematical, but that was the world at the time. And you don't excuse it now in our modern eyes, but you can do that with any historical period. If we're going to think that history is progressing, that means at some point something about history was regressive. So we can't ignore the past, and we can't take what was good about an era to bring it forward, even if there were some bits that were problematical. We're still things to solve, and hopefully they eventually do, even if it feels like sometimes we take one step forward and two steps back. It's not quite as dark as, my buddy Will once said, you can't say civilization don't advance, because in every war they find a new way to kill you. But there is something to that. Sirens I'm on a main drag here, Carl. Every once in a while, I actually try to mute the sirens, but there you go. The happiness police are coming for me. Yeah. Never got to meet Isaac Asimov in the iRobot series. Yeah, of course, Asimov has his a little bit of Me Too problematical side too in modern eyes. Hey, Analysis, good to see you with us again, coming over from YouTube. For you, Star Trek of Things is great. Everything else sucks. Okay. I have a question about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Would it with Menagerie? Are we leaving some? It's past Menagerie 1 and 2. Would it fit with I mean, the Cage, we're beyond the Cage, and Menagerie 1 and 2 are a year after Pike's given up the Enterprise. By the way, just to clarify this, Pike does not leave the Enterprise because of the baffle plate and saving the cadets. That is not, he has left the Enterprise, Kirk has taken command, and as a fleet captain inspecting cadets, the baffle plate ruptures on their training ship and he's rescuing them. And he's disfigured and disabled. But the disability in the accident is not why he leaves the Enterprise. He's done it already. Just to clarify, some people get confused by that, and the wonderful otherwise finale was a little vague on that too at one point, but I wondered about it. But no, it's not. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Millie, and thank you, Comedy Forecast. Hey, Johnny, good to see you, man. Can you believe it? 2023. I know we're into I realized a year or two ago, I can't just say the 20s now and expect everybody to think I'm talking about the roaring 20s. I don't know. When will this decade get a moniker? The way it started off, yeesh. What were we trying to say? Not the roaring 20s, the apoplectic 20s. Hey, Der Alta, good evening from Germany. I love it that we're so global here. Yes, Dankeschön. I know that's thank you, but still. Know what to shy away from. There you go. Hey, Jim, at the end of 2022, you're looking forward to new seasons of Strange, Picard, Lower Decks, and Discovery, and new podcasts of Trek. Thank you, Jim. Hope you're enjoying them. Have some great ones coming up, too. Thank you for being a conscientious, safe person, Michael. Thanks for jumping in, too, and thanks for being here when you can be here. It has been, that's what I'm trying to say. This has been maybe the best, the most stable, and the most, I don't want to say feel good. We're not happy dappy, but I think people, it's like, we made it. We got through. And the Trek we're getting, if some of the other ancillary gears aren't quite in sync yet, but the core of Trek is doing pretty well, don't you think? Yeah. That's why It's why now when we do our location, we've got a whole raft of new places to go thanks to Picard. All the other ones are just classic. The things are being referenced in other series. And all the behinds folks, we're just finding so many great people, like, people that aren't heralded. And that's what Portal 47 is about. People like Tim Peel and Andrew Jarvis and Dave Blass, much less Mike and Terry and Henry Alonzo Myers. And I'm leaving people out. Oh, the Hagemans and Aaron on Prodigy. Yeah. Yes, season 4 Discovery is out. It's out. Or a real life landing party. Something tells me I should not wear red or yellow. Yeah, there you go. You could have a real live away mission and wear red, and then you're safe. Cool. Thank you much, man. You've already into it. Thanks, Dave. The latest Trek files and the concept art going into the films. Yeah, the first film, the rare Ken Adam artwork, even before Ralph McQuarrie made the color visions that we're used to seeing for Planet of the Titans. That sat unused and as a relic of the past until Brian fell in love with them. You'll have to hear today's Trek files, everybody. The Trek files of December 20th. If you're listening later, season 9, episode 16. See how fresh on my mind that is? What drink? Oh, yeah, you can drink anything besides tequila. Yes. Beilus would be nice today. Eagle Moss must rise from the ashes. Stay tuned, gang. Stay tuned. Absolutely, Mark. Yes. I'm just glad that online fandom seems to be settling down, but your family group is certainly one of them it's always a welcome place and a lot of fun. Sometimes when you say welcome place, it's like, what is it, like a shelter? Red Cross shelter? No. Actually fun, too. Okay, I'm looking for questions. Actual questions. Oh, I see drinks are good question, Rose. We're working on it. Hopefully, I had to wait a couple of things to process through, but in the next 2, hopefully by the 1st, if not by the first week in January. Definitely. You've never watched most of the shows they're ranking the top 10. Well, we've been on a binge. I got off on Foyle's War, which is a 20-year-old show, and 8 short seasons, and somehow we segued over to Endeavor, which I know is the prequel to Inspector Morse, which was an 80s, early aughts show of its time, and now they're doing clever sequels and prequels. But just loving the hell out of that. Now we're about caught up, which is going to be weird. The fact that I'm back in regular time and new episodes are coming. It's not quite Death in Paradise, but there we go. Scratching your head as to why Prodigy is still not clicking with some folks. It's amazing. Well, do you think it's just some of those those barriers of like animation or half hour? Or do you think it's just not on their radar screen? They just don't know about it, despite all the promotion and the buzz in fan circles. They just kind of tune it, or they think it's just for kids. I mean, the last half of the year, it feels like every other word I've said is it's not for kids. And that's one of the things we try to do with Cadet Alice. I should maybe emphasize that a little more. I've got more Cadet Alice's to post, though, and hopefully we can get some done over the holidays, too. Oh, a little difficulty there in Germany trying to watch Prodigy on Super RTL, and you're going to wait for the Blu-rays. Yeah, it's just, Linda, it's like SpongeBob has become the Bugs Bunny or the Mickey Mouse of its, or the Scooby-Doo or the Flintstones of its time, or the Ninja Turtles of its time. I guess. I don't know. Why are some people not thinking Prodigy is not okay for adults? Just because it was animated and everybody said, oh, it's finally a Star Trek for kids. And that may have almost gone too much that direction. Now people are having to pull it back and say, it's not just for kids. And it's not. And especially people who are fans of Voyager who wanted more. But it's going to be more than that even. And I think people who, is it weird to say fans of Picard? I know they're out there. I know there are tons of fans of Picard. We're going to get insight into what's going on there too, apparently. Did Parrot give us new numbers for Detective Conan or case closed? I doubt it. Not sure what you mean there, Duralta. Actually, I will disagree with you here. Whoever thought had charge in Germany thought it'd be a kids show. At the very beginning, when Star Trek, I'm talking about the 70s, when Star Trek was sold around the world, the markets today that are big markets for Trek, the UK, Germany, Australia, are the places where it wasn't treated as a kids show back then. Everywhere else, wherever the kids shows went, the equivalent of American Saturday morning or after school, that's where the programmers put it, and that's where the public perception of it was, and that didn't begin to be challenged until Paramount tried to remarket 09, the movie, the JJ movies, and bust open everything that had been a staple, everything that had been a meme and a trope about Star Trek, especially globally, the perception in audience minds, they were going to try to blow that wide open. And good on them for trying. But some markets, you'd think like Japan, and yeah, India, France, Italy, some of the places that should be next door, sci-fi and design. That's what I've always heard the reasoning, and the fact that it wasn't that way in the big three outside the U.S. and Canada, UK, Germany, and Australia, especially Germany because it's not natively English speaking. That's why. That's why. Let's see here. But there you go. If that's a persistent vibe perception, then there's still some work to do apparently. Okay, comedy. Now, what do you say? You informally track each Trek show by the number of articles that you pull for your topic is Trek show. Prodigy is slowly getting more digital ink. Not as fast, but it's something. Well, there you go. Thank you for your independent analysis. And thanks for mentioning your show. The topic is Trek. Yes, I agree, Marina. Mind Walk was phenomenal. Voice acting awards to Kate and Brett. Yes, for switching each other's voices and spoilers. It was amazing. And hull walking. Can we just stop and talk about hull walking? That was amazing. And space navigating. Wacky. I mean, it's not live action, but still. But the kids in the show are mature. Yeah, they're teenagers, but they still have impetuous and their feelings are close to the surface, right? Yes. Yeah, what a treat. What a treat. Holiday break is causing the jump in ratings for Prodigy. Well, or at least the way it's showing. Of course, this was a week, if you're talking about those parrots, that was a week that ended December 9th. So if that's a trend, it should do nothing but get bigger. It should increase as we get deeper into the holiday break. And yes, did you see the delay? There's been a delay on the merch, on some merch from December, early December, late, but pre-Christmas till February, I believe, which was sad. Believe me, I've got my eye on a Gwen action figure / doll. Will be my first thing after the Murph plushie, the baby Murph plushie. Absolutely. Tying into the whole unawareness thing, at least seemingly. Yeah. Doing the same, working on your fanfics. Yay. There we are, the back scrolling. Thank you guys. And yet, Linda, the creatives doing a phenomenal job, the PR department not so much. And yet, they're doing more promo than has ever been done before. But I wonder if it's the limits of social media. I think there's a lot of terrestrial TV and even cable and even streaming that they could spread the word. I don't know how much, like we have direct TV and there's always an ad to the side of the guide and the boxes when you first come in. Your apps avatars are sitting here, and there's always ads for other things. And I don't believe I've ever seen any Star Trek over there. Maybe at the time of a premiere, of a new show premiere, maybe, but I don't think I routinely see that over there. And I just wonder about it. No fresh Trek. The title of your hiatus single. Exactly, JR. That's funny. Hi, Bob. You're lurking but busy catching what you can. Well, thanks for joining us, Bob. And I think you were with us at the open house too. So there we go. Okay, here's the update from Deutschland here and Österreich. The German market will get 2 new Star Trek Strange New Worlds episodes every week until January, and maybe even some Prodigy. They're gradually stocking it and catching it up. Yes. Thank you, Linda. Yes, a happy, better new year. Exactly. Hey, Michael, there's no late to the party here. Well, you're on your own with that. That's a joke, son. I'll take it that way then. Good, yes. Okay. I was just thinking about this, and there's so much reaction in politics around the word woke. But when I was a kid, and the 68 blew up, and TV was trying to not be so flaccid, and all the rural comedies went away, and all the silly, the magic, talking horses and talking cars, and even witches and genies, all of that went away, and the buzzword back then was relevant. Is it relevant? Meaning, is it gritty and real world and talking about the issues of today and not lost in a fantasy world? And even on the sitcoms, Julia, Diane Carroll had, right? Yeah. But Julia, black single mom with her kid, nurse, and she worked at a hospital, and it was a half-hour dramedy. And oh my God, Room 222 was the epitome to me of relevant. And the Mod Squad, 1 black, 1 white, 1 blonde. That was the turn then. And I was thinking today that relevant, is it relevant? Does this have any relevancy to today and today's real world gritty emerging problems? And is it racially sensitive and gender sensitive, and gender meaning male female back in the day? That was a big thing, 68, 69, 70, 71. And then we got into Vietnam and Watergate. You know what? Anyway, it's a thing. Relevancy predated wokeness. Stingray, has Ira ever talked about the rivalry competition with Babylon 5? Like when Section 31 was created, B5 had Bureau 13. I should have asked him. That's a broad strokes question. I should have got to him at the open house. I was so busy trying to get into the TNG era and things that aren't heard about often anymore that that would have been a good one. Where were you? Why didn't you send me this ahead of time? That's a good one. And we were cramming. We skated through bits. We went nearly 2 hours. But I just did a good old-fashioned me interview, only I did it with an audience in front of folks. One of my archival interviews, not about what's the latest soundbite and promo spoiler that we have to tease. I hate doing those. And they're a necessary part of the world, but it's like those to me are just a waste of time. Why have somebody and talk to them for 15 minutes on something that's going to be half moot in 2 weeks? I don't like being part of that machine. But that would have been a good one, yes. And if I ever get a chance, I will get back to that. There you go, Jim. Lower Decks was your favorite new Trek in 2022. Well, power to you. But my point is, I don't think you're not watching the others. I mean, does anybody know a fan who only watches one? It's like Lay's potato chips. No one can watch just one. You might have a favorite. if we can get back to that vibe of, I'm kind of watching all of them, unless there's a financial or a technical reason not to, that's getting in the way. But it's okay to have a favorite and for your reasons. But are people not watching everything still? I don't know. I don't know. And there we go. That's the way it's working in the GSA countries. Hey, Zahir. That's all. It's just hello. Okay. What are you saying, Marina? It's annoying that the new folks are quite so clueless because given the longevity of the franchise, there's no excuse for hiring clueless people. Well, I will defend. When I say clueless, I hope nobody is hired that's not a good writer, that's not excellent at their craft, that has a track record. I'm just saying that the people who are hired, let's say everybody is equally an excellent writer, which is crazy to try to quantitate that. But let's just say everyone, I'm just saying the people who know Trek even a little bit have that much ahead on the people that don't. And if they're really truly good writers, they're massively trying to learn. They're going to soak up what they can from the old fans. And maybe eventually they won't be a half step behind. Although I don't know anybody who's going to catch up, to Mike or Aaron or Henry. I don't know how you catch up on how you make up 30 or 40 or 50 years. But yeah, when I say clueless, I'm talking about just that little margin there. Because hopefully if they've been hired, they're really more than competently good writers. There's no excuse for hiring clueless people. Well, maybe there'd be some equal opportunity employment regulation against that. I'm sorry, you can't just hire. That's true. I think where this happens more is not in the writer's room and production place. Well, the writer's room least of all. Sometimes maybe the other production avenues, and then maybe back in the corporate offices at times. Okay. Just keep lurking and lurking. Moving from Trekland to Trekland. Okay, we'll let you. Thank you, Nathaniel. Happy Hanukkah back at you. Meanwhile, back here on planet Earth, you're concerned that we've had several large earthquakes and weird weather all over the world in the pandemic and war and peace. Yes, Melody. We still have, what are we? We've still got 39 years till the Vulcans. Oosh, maybe I shouldn't have said that because what we have to pass through to get there. I'm all for canon breaking at this point, guy. Yeah. Thank you for this insight, Christoph. They're behind on Prodigy in the German companies because they didn't book enough dubbing studio time and they're unsure about providing undubbed episodes. Feels like two AIs fighting over what goes online. See, this is interesting. See how many, there's just some plain old boring human factors beyond the simplest conspiracy theories and head shakers. That Star Trek novel book writing would be your dream job. As I can guess from always hearing about your fanfics, Gerald. Yeah. Shake them on stun. Yeah. Well, there's a big spectrum for fanfics. I mean, it's the quality of the writing. What transcends your Mary Sue-ness, I guess. Rock Talk Heart. Such an enigma. Yeah. Mike! Hey, look who's here, man. You feel like the Orville fandom, Mike Richards, everybody, host of Mission Log Orville, co-host, I should say. You feel like the Orville fandom might be like what the Star Trek fandom was like before there were so many sects. You mean like 70s? Trek fandom, or even 80s Trek fandom? By sects, do you mean show by show by show, or do you mean the fanfic Spock lovers versus the canonistas and backgrounders versus the ship porn nerds? I don't know, the pew pew folks versus the of course it's always been political folks. I don't know, you should expand on that, Mike. But good to see you again. Yay. Okay, well, that's my few thoughts from what you said. That's me. We could have a clarification on that. It's a good discussion topic. But that's true. It went through a whole. It's been through a whole cycle. But I remember comparing the Firefly fandom to Trek fandom, in apples and oranges ways. Should we get Ira back on again? We need to bond over McCoy. I said what now? Hi, Mary. I said Star Trek was different, not better. No, it's better. I did? Was different, not better. No, it's better. Sometimes I try to, I don't remember saying that today, but I try to avoid absolutes, because there's always counter, there's always something going against the grain. Yeah, I see good in everything. So and it's hard to measure apples to apples when you're talking about, I hate to compare. I mean, you can obviously comment on the TOS era and how modernized look at TOS. But I hate to bring it up again, but I just watched an episode of Logan's Run, the TV series Logan's Run, last night. And that was from 1978, 10 years after Star Trek. And everybody who's criticizing about, younger folks who are talking about they can't watch TOS because it's so 60s, you need to watch some 70s. There's at least, no, I say that, I take that back. Some of it's in the casting, I think, and maybe just the way it's shot and edited, but oh my goodness. There's no comparison between 60s TOS Star Trek and this Harlan Ellison episode of Logan's Run, at least on the beginning part of it. The spark of it was Harlan's, of Logan's Run, that I watched last night. But maybe you can explain, was there context to what I said? I'm not trying to run away from it. I'm just, now you got me curious. Trext of us for the rest of us. There are always four lights. Thank you, JR, for reminding us of that holiday cheer. Yes. What are you saying, Duralta? With Linda, all I hear concerning Trek is positive, thankfully. I have enough gatekeeping on DCEU. Snyder's gone, thankfully. Now they bitch and moan about James Gunn. I know. And this is where it's like, after years of watching, well, it was mainly Marvel, but after watching Star Wars and Marvel for years, and all the other franchises boom and be on top of it, and Star Trek be out in the wilderness, I'm not wishing anyone ill, but it's been interesting to watch from afar, and I hope things get settled out. Including, I even tweeted about the Henry Cavill news last week. Okay, where are we here? Where are we? Oh, yeah, the beanie. Yeah, I don't think, it's not beans. It's not a beanie baby. It's just a plushie. Yep. They're coming to take me away, ha ha ho ho hee, to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see those nice young men in their plain white coats, and they're coming to take me away, ha ha. I think we got a Dr. Demento veteran fan in the house there, Melanie. I think we both go back. Yeah, the happiness police. Yeah. Hey, Becca, I hope you are feeling better than you were last week on Euro Portal 47. Waving back at you. Oh, see, my who-ness hole is showing here. The happiness patrol from Doctor Who. The coughing 20s. I had a really good adjective that matched roaring. Pike was off the Enterprise for at least 2 years. Spock served with Pike for 11 years, and when viewing the events of the Cage, Spock is reviewing the events of 13 years ago. I know. Well, yeah, 1 to 2 would be great, but it was trying to keep that window open. There was some confusion factor there about Pike left the Enterprise because of the accident. And all I was trying to say was no, it happened. It happened well before. So there you go. What are you saying here? 2023. You watched the pilot of James Cameron's Dark Angel that was supposed to take place in 2019. Yes. Dark Angel was the series that gave us, what's her name? Carl. Now that we're in the mid 20s, I guess it's the early mid 20s, 2023, we can get a proper feeling of nostalgia from the I love the 2000s, the aughts. I love the aughts. And we need more I love the 80s and I love the 90s. Oh, okay. I'm sure they'd love to have you write in and tell them that. Yes. Okay. Now we've got the coughing 20s. Yeah, some agreement there. Hey, Narda, hope the Outback is treating you fine. Well, I'm glad. Hope it's a good busy. It's fine. Der Alto, what do I think? Might we get a new Star Trek classic series when S&W is done? Well, we're talking S&W is just getting off the ground, and they've got 4 or 5 seasons in them, which turns into what, 7 years? So this is going to be a long ways away unless something unforeseen happens. They still have 2 more years worth of the original Kirk running the ship. You mean 2 more years until they get to the original Kirk running the ship? Yeah, we're just in 2161, aren't we? We've got 3 or 4 years, depending on how you want to slice it and dice it and what you want to follow. Do you want to follow Pike when he's a fleet captain running around inspecting ships and doing fleet captainy stuff? Hey, has anyone thought in 12 days what the time will be? Hope you can watch an Instagram my year in review. Okay, Rose, we'll do that. Thank you, Dave. That's where our binge watching has gone. Shh, spoilers, man. Spoiler. 2 seasons. They had 2 seasons before that happened. Wasn't the animated barrier the same issue that Star Trek the animated? Well, yes, except that TAS was literally on Saturday morning. You literally it was an uphill battle, and it was one that Dorothy, that's a topic when we had her on the show before she passed, that was one of the topics of at least one episode, was the uphill battle to get people to respect that the animated series was more than just Saturday morning. It wasn't typical. It was too good for Saturday morning, is the way some of the promotions and some of the reviewers were saying. So yeah, they felt like they were caught in a no man's land between live action expectations and attitudes and Saturday morning blow off. They were the stepchild in the middle. Too good for Saturday morning, but less than a live action hour. Some of that's the timing. If it was an animated hour, would that make it any different? I don't know. SpongeBob is something like The Simpsons. Yeah, yep. Personally, it may have to do with the animating style of the people on the show, which is, in your opinion, not as good as the non-human characters. Okay, are we talking about Prodigy? Are we talking about TAS? Yes, you need to buy a Blu-ray player so you can watch this. It's like all the people that bought VCRs to start taping Star Trek. People bought Blu-ray players. People bought Blu-ray players 20 years ago. Here's the key, Narda. See, you weren't expecting Prodigy to be so excitingly Star Trek. Glued to the screen, wide-eyed. You loved it. See, and that's just, I think that happens to everybody. I just think it's getting them over that hump to do it the first time. To answer Marina's question earlier, the animation of Dal and Janeway was amazing last week. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. The animated shows, I mean, there, you know, it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The artists, all those teams of animators they have, 2D or 3D, are kind of amazing. Mm-hmm. Japan, you're saying as an audience, is unique. They have animated shows. People say, hey, they're for kids just because they're animated, and suddenly, bam, people are killed in the show. Well, that's anime. That's anime. Detective Conan is an anime, which is a comic. I was thinking Conan O'Brien. I'm like, what, does he got an animated series in Europe where he's a detective? I don't know. Nitpicking Brian says, I don't buy that Janeway Dow could keep a phaser fire straight on Dow Janeway from that distance. It was too far to keep still for that long. Shut up, nitpicking Brian. Well, there's just a technology that maybe there was a physical lock inherent in the beam that helped keep it on the very spot it needed to be. Mm-hmm. Prodigy could break through with an adult audience on, but generally that takes time when there are several dozen episodes at least. And that's exactly. There's got to be a reservoir there for people to get into. And we're barely out of the first. How long did it take to get to the first 10? Right. Now we're barely going to be through 20. An actual question, Rose. What are me and my family looking forward to on Sunday? Quiet. We're all going to be splintered up, not in one big bunch. But I'm just looking forward to seeing people being very simple. I feel like the pandemic, everybody curtailed a lot of I mean, I've had a couple of group things. I've got some small group get-togethers. Hopefully the original StarTrek.com team that I talked about last week, we can get together before New Year's. A couple of the small groups like that. Nothing big. We had our docent group from Will Rogers, docents and some staff and some of the board members of the foundation. It was 15 people, 18 people, nothing huge. So just a simpler, still feeling scattered. I don't know. I'm not part of a corporate cog right now. So even that, I don't know. What's my favorite tipple for the season? Well, I realized the last few years I've had very little eggnog. I'm going to try to get some eggnog again. My son used to always have it. And since, he's been off with his own bunch, there hasn't been an automatic jug or 2 or 3 of eggnog in the fridge. I need to do something about that. But otherwise, I'm not. We'll have some wine around here. I'm sure I can put some rum into something. It's just been that's one thing about the pandemic. I just feel like our big crazy holiday, and some people are itching to get back to big crazy holidays again, but I just think it's been fine. It's like it's about quality than quantity, and I don't just mean family. It's like thinking about people I haven't seen in a while, and travel plans that put back. Back scrolling didn't take that long. I didn't notice. We should redo this. Can the Yankees here please use spoilers when talking about Prodigy beyond episode 12, please? Thanks. Oops, sorry, Christoph. And I've probably been guilty of that too. We forget. I'd be so glad. I'd be so glad when this infrastructure is finally down that we're not having to make these crazy jumps. Okay, spoilers, hashtag spoilers. So glad that the truth is known, but she still hasn't figured out about, right. Oh, there's always a mystery to know. Yeah. Julia, a real depiction of a nurse. Yeah. The Mob Squad, the show that predated The Naked Gun. No, the Mod Squad. As in Harv Bennett's show that he says knocked Star Trek off the air. But he didn't really, but he loves to say that. Hey, Alan, good to see you. Talking about Brian, physics, yes. However, Trek in some ways has always defied that. Anime does that frequently to tell the story. Well, Star Trek retcons all kinds of things. I saw somebody the other day still talking about no seatbelts in the Enterprise, and I'm like, well, that's what inertial dampers are for. Even when there have been 2 or 3 attempts at seatbelts, they just get in the way. But the clamp downs were the most elegant solution from the motion picture, and I think after Wrath of Khan they were thrown out. And then and then the deleted scene from Nemesis was going to act like it was a new thing. I guess after a century it was a new thing. Naked Gun was based on Police Squad. Yeah. You have talked to fans, Mona, who aren't watching Prodigy because they think it's a kid's show. Exactly. And I think that's fading. I think it's finally penetrating the Trekosphere. But even Trek fans haven't heard the news yet. But we're all trying. We are trying. And yes, Clarence Williams III, Lincoln Hayes, absolutely. I just remember that tagline: one black, one white, one blonde. No, one white, one black, one blonde. Alliteration. Hi, Christian. Glad you. Hey, you know what? Later is better than never. So glad you could too. People are feeling their end of the yearness here. And then there's you, Melanie. Yes, as I always used to say, D, all the above. Right. See, Becca, for the longest time, you only rewatched TNG and you didn't see DS9 Voyager Enterprise until 10 years ago. You're a baby. You're a baby. Or you're an old timer, either way, wherever you're coming from. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Ira was clueless about Star Trek. Au contraire, Linda. He hadn't kept up with TNG, but Ira was an original series fan. Big time. I knew that for ages, and we talked about it at the open house too. So just so you know. In fact, Ira and Hans and Ricky and Ron and Melinda Snodgrass, the writing staff for season 3 were all huge original series fans and New Trek. Michael was the one who knew about it culturally, but wasn't there. And that's why I think they, yeah. But let me counter that with respect. Hey, Stingray, was I invited or even went to the now defunct Space Park Bremen, Germany, when they opened the Star Trek Borg 4D invasion? No, but I worked on merchandising and imagery for it. I've got blueprints over here somewhere in my archives because I had to go in the archives and pull imagery back in the day. Before we made public press releases about I did that before it was a thing. We didn't have social media and we didn't put out press releases. Larry is the content supervisor and consultant for blah. But hey, get Larry to go in and pay Larry to go in and get some stuff for you because they had no clue. And nobody knew how the archives was organized either. When the archives was 95% slides. Like these babies right here that have been sitting here for 4 years for me to go through and all the rest. There's way more than that where that came from. Stuff to do. And here I am talking to you all. Ira said he never paid attention to Babylon 5. He was too busy. There you go. But the 13 versus 31 was kind of funky too. They hire actors with no knowledge of Star Trek. Well, that's a bigger field and that's turning over faster. Even if you're talking about regulars, there's usually one in every cast. There's one in every cast that knows that's there. It was Tim Russ in Voyager, Michael in Next Gen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Carl, I say that lovingly. Same thing I say with Canonistas. I say it lovingly. We are Treknologists. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And don't call me Shirley. If Orville starts doing spin-offs, there will be sects among fans. Sects among fans, like with all the Trek spin-offs now. Well, it's kind of inevitable. I mean, we're just human beings after all. People, it's good that something appeals to somebody somehow, and it's not a total waste of time. Well, that's awesome. And you will value it forever, Carl. Yep. Technologist. Absolutely. Terry Hiller. It's a word that gets used. It's like obvious, but Terry Hiller coined that word technology for his column in the Communicator when he worked on the original Star Trek science show at the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry, OMSI, and Gene was still alive in 89 or 90 into 91, 90, 91. And then he did the real science with a Trek connection column for Communicator. And it was always called Technology. I avoid absolutes because only a Sith deals in absolutes. Plus, there was a TV show. Yes, there was 13, 14 episodes. It was canceled. It couldn't keep up with Star Wars, but it was conceived and created in the era before Star Wars. I had the misfortune to premiere in 78. Yeah. Dr. Demento. Dr. Demento. I had a chance to see Dr. Demento host a salute to Spike Jonze, who had died, but his wife and his son, and the last surviving member of the band who did the TV show and the videos with the outrageously square suits. It's amazing. And I have a napkin somewhere put back. I have a napkin somewhere. Oh, shoot. I just kicked this. I have a napkin somewhere that I've got Spike Jonze Jr. and Helen Grayson, his wife. That was her stage name. It's a Spike Jonze logo, cartoon logo on a cocktail napkin for the reception at Museum and Radio and TV when it was still open in LA. The New York one is open, but before the LA one closed, it was Dr. Demento, Helen Grayson, and Spike Jonze Jr. signed it, and that elderly musician who was still a hoot signed. One of the best nights ever. It had nothing to do with Star Trek. I totally got to be a fan for once of something and be a kid again, and it was just an awesome evening. It was such an awesome evening, and to talk to them. Well, you know what I meant. You know what I meant, Dave. I don't know. Anyway, be safe out there, Linda. Goodbye. What are you saying, Becca, here? Got a few more years. Oh, okay. You guys are comparing your resumes. Thank you, Jessica Alba. And Michael Weatherly, who became DiNozzo on NCIS and is now. Oh, I forgot about Michael Weatherly being there. So there you go. Yeah, I only found out about Lewis's connection. So we'll see. We watched the pilot of Morrison, put off doing any more until we run through Endeavor. Hi, Alunka. It's good to see you, and I haven't heard from you in a while. You're in Germany too, and you stay up extra to see them. Well, you're welcome, Alunka. That's why, and just so you know, and everybody knows, Portal, we've got a lot of Portal people here from the continent. I make sure and have things to cater to them too. 2 or 3 of you stayed up at 3 and 4 in the morning for Ira a few weeks ago. Oh, I got you. 2 more years of Kirk unexplored. Well, some people would say that, most people would say TAS is part of one of those years, but I hear you. I hear you. Okay, everybody's signing off. Now, what here? While at your destination, the Eagle Moss must rise in the ashes. It will become Phoenix Moss. Phoenix Moss. I'll make sure and tell, if you hadn't heard that, I'll tell Ben that. All right. Oh, okay. This is Superhuman Christoph. You carried a 21-inch tube monitor back and forth every week on a foldable aluminum cart for school. Yeah. In the ancient days. Let's see. Do I have a favorite Christmas movie? Mine's Jingle All the Way and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You know what, gang? The fact that I don't have one means that I guess I'm just going to have to totally be a wimp here and say White Christmas. Has some great songs in it. I still love Sisters. I had a friend, and every once in a while we would just start doing Sisters together. There were never more devoted sisters, sisters, sisters. And then we would have our, parody versions of it, blisters and things like that. That's a wimpy answer. I'm sorry. Nothing since the 50s, really, Larry? I know. Now, Christmas animated specials. If you're got beyond Charlie Brown and Rudolph, what's the other one? Oh, The Grinch. Charlie Brown, Rudolph, and the Grinch. Like the original kids' Christmas specials. Everything else is just a copy. Oh, that's what I just did. So move along here. How is Dr. Ollie and family doing? Please give me a best. You know what? I actually talked to Ollie. He had a fake account. Somebody created a fake account for him on his own Discord for the Psych Show. But they got it settled down. Jared's boarding that and got that throttled. But he's doing well. He's pumping out an awful lot of really catchy, hopefully eye-catching and hopefully helpful to folks, mental health short bits, TikToks and Instagram shorts and that kind of thing. But it will. Totally will. Wait, what was a spoiler? I missed something. Oh, well, it's fine. It's fine. Where are we here? I'm trying to return. We're going a little long, gang, but oh, look, we've even got a we even got a blockaroo. Okay. Do I have a tip on? Oh, okay. Good, Linda. Okay, we're all clear then. Good deal. I wonder if that's what you meant. Do I have a tip on what one should write in the letter of application if you want to write for the novel side of Trek? Well, the first thing you have to have for your letter of application, your cover letter, is writing that is not Star Trek. It could be adventuresome, it could be science related, but have good characters and a compelling story and be a page turner. Do all the things. Have that before you ever think about if it's in another franchise, okay, but the best thing would be original characters, your own characters. And if the vibe, if it's upbeat and hopeful and people have an arc of darkness that they overcome, to come into the light in some way, whatever that is, if it's all about understanding and rationality triumphing over, darkness and evil, in whatever spectrum, whatever fashion, that would be so much the better. But have something not Star Trek to show, so that immediately separates you as someone who is serious and earnest and has original ideas that can go do a Star Trek, because they'd rather do that than someone who knows Star Trek and they have to teach them writing. And life is too short and people are too busy to sit down and figure that out 6 months later or 3 months later. Waste all their time on not you so much, but the world at large. That's just the safety valve. It's like having agented writers pitching and trying to find a way around that. Just eventually, it was great for 10, 15 years, but then was eventually shut down because it fell victim to what normally happens. People fighting over original ideas when they weren't original. Okay. Should one write since when you're writing or since when you're a Trekist or both? I'm not sure I understood that there, but I may have answered your question. Well, this is true. Before we have the spin-offs, we have to have the original renewed. I'm feeling optimistic. I think everybody's feeling optimistic, but especially the Disney Plus pickup. But let's see. Thanks for the history on Treknologists. I had heard and adopt the term, but didn't know its origins. Oh, I don't even think about it, Carl. But that's I have seen over the years people just use it. For a while, I'd see other people, especially people who wrote columns in magazines, use the word like either they invented it or it had been around for 4,700 years. But that's the origin. It wasn't always, a clever thing that just existed out there in the ether. And I always felt bad for Terry that people in other publications just used the word and he got no, like, what are you going to do? Get residuals over a word? But still, just kind of know that's where the word came from. There are different sections among fans. 31 to be kind of like the gray houses of Kronos, right? Oh, did I do it? Did I guess I did. All right. You have to be a life support liver to know. Orville is with Hulu in the USA, but Disney everywhere else. There you go. There you go. Where's the money flowing? There you go. Yours is White Christmas too. Okay. Okay. And another drink. Just happy to oblige. Happy holidays there. Oh, Frosty. I know it's old. It almost qualifies on age, but Frosty is just so. Frosty's just so bland to me. I'm sorry. It's sentimental only from age. But when I was a kid, it was just like, oh my God, it was just so not anything. But you know what? I'm not gatekeeping on classic Christmas specials. You enjoy what boats your float. Absolutely. Okay. Phoenix Moss. Build the Phoenix. Zephram Cochrane will be great. Randolph the Red Gone Cowboy. Yeah. Better call in the MCP for end of line. Doctor, I think he's on TikTok, but I know he's on Instagram short. So I'm thinking surely he's doing it both ways. Yep. We got a spanner. I guess we're on somebody's radar. Yay. It is that time. Yep. It looks like we are late in Europe, which means we're late here. A&W root beer's got that frosty mug taste. A&W root beer's got that frosty mug taste. Did I ever meet or know about Michael Finney, the con man of tech company Pixelon? He conned Paramount to use his Videotech to promote Star Trek Insurrection. I was cover in Dock Valley of the boom. Okay, as usual, Stingray, you're like leaving out every seventh word. I don't know about this right off, and I'd like to know more. Get in touch with me. Just please use all the words that are needed, okay? That sounds interesting. But you're a Charlie Brown girl more. I know. Thank goodness. Hey, everybody. There we go. There's end of chat. Yay. All right. End of chat. And yes, everybody, be thinking of apparently Hans Beimler. Ira was talking on the open house. Hans Beimler, his old friend, was originally writing partners with Ricky Manning and then came back to DS9 on his own and wrote with Ira a lot. Is not in good health. So you're hearing it here from me. I hope he has a few more orbits of the sun with us, but apparently is not doing well. So you might keep him in your thoughts of the greater Trek family over the years. But yeah, everybody have a great holiday. Again, I'll just say, if anybody out there watching this live or later, if you're needing, when I say late, I mean even after Christmas. We're going to have this up through New Year's. The great double team deep dive there. Basically, it's a ticket to one of the cruise treks and a full year portal at a great price. What I came up with, it's like a fifth off or something insane, but also some smaller packages. 6 months of portal for paying for 5, 12 months of portal for the cost of 10. There's some smaller things there. The cameo, I've just started doing these cameos, and they're a lot of fun. If you're not sure what they are, look at cameo.com. I'm under Dr. Trek or Larry Nemechek. That's all out there just to have some fun. And if you don't care about delivery by Christmas, the TeePublic store, and the sale is off finally, but TeePublic is there too. We appreciate the support. It's pennies here, but it's cool to see Trekland brands and ideas and things and artwork out in the realm. So again, thanks for all of that. Thanks one more time for our TTLers and our live wires here at the end of the year. Thanks for whether they've been in with us for a long time or just joined. It's so great to have you supporting and helping. And we'll see. We have some new things coming this year. Not too late to jump in this year if you want to. It's $5 and $10 a month. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. I keep it simple on purpose. Again, if you go to LarryNemechek.com, you can see the link for all the gift ideas we have up, large and small budgets. You also see the link for the cruise day itself. These are the location site tours the day before and the day after the cruise. You don't have to be a cruiser. You're totally fine to jump in with us, but check out the details there. And also, if you're really into a big event this summer and, Mission went away, we have a 10-day big tour with Geek Nation Tours, my friend Terrace. We did our first one in 2012, the last one in 2016. So it'll be thrilling to get back to this, LA and San Francisco. That's a link at my homepage too as well. Tuesday Trek Files is up. You heard me say with Ben Robinson, some awesome pre-motion picture. Hey, it's Planet of the Titans is where we are. And the amazing, this is why you learn history, because something that's a dusty relic of the past suddenly becomes relevant once again. That story is on Trek Files today and all over the map. Follow me. Twitter, Mastodon, soon on post, Larry Nemechek. Larry Nemechek's Trekland on Facebook, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And Portal 47. Go read about it at portal47.net. Come back and get one of the specials, though, at the special place I told you. They're on our link. LarryNemechek.com/double22. That's going to do it. My goodness, we celebrated 5 years in April or May, whatever it was. It'll be 6 years next spring doing this weekly. We're going to be tweaking the weekly show here, but we'll be here going into the new year. So again, my hope for everybody, whether you're heading out for the chem department's Christmas party or whatever your holiday season takes you, however you celebrate it, everybody, as I would say all the time, stay healthy, do all the things, have fun out there, and stay woke, check your sources. And as always, trek well, everybody. Here's to 2023, whatever star date it is.